Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome back. Welcome back to the PorscheCooled Podcast, episode 78. Episode 78. Steve, are you there?
I am. Episode 78.
78. It's a milestone episode because this episode is the last episode before Steve's going to take a little bit of a break. He's not going forever, are you, Steve?
No, I am not. I don't think so. Well, I don't think so.
No, he's not.
Unless something happens to me.
So don't worry. To those people who are new to the podcast, sorry, I always forget. I always have to address the people who are new to the podcast, Steve. And so this is the PorscheCooled Podcast. My name is Michael Barth. That's Steve. Steve's my mate in Sydney, GT3 997. Previous air-cooled owner. I only own one 911 and 997, being my first.
I only own one.
Only one, I should say. Only one. Being my first, and I should have more. I should have another one, but I can't make up my mind. And if things in life were so easy, I tell you, if things in life were so easy. I was just, and I'm not going to say it on recording, but I'll be honest, I've had a shitty week this week, and I think Steve has too. Steve's been ill, but I've had a shitty week because I've just been harassed by people. And I don't want to be harassed by people. If people harass me online, then I'm going to stop being online, Steve.
You could do that, but you probably don't really want to.
But, you know, of course...
I'm often not online.
Yeah, of course the good people outweigh the bad, so that's what makes me keep going. But, you know, honestly, I thought YouTube was bad. I thought YouTube was bad, but YouTube's not bad compared to, you know, the current state. But anyway, that's it. Enough of that. I'm not going to get into that because it's not worth it and it's not important. All right. I just want to touch on the few things, Steve, before we get into what you've been doing this week and what's happening. We all know that this episode is going to be purely about the GT3. It's not going to be like other people's GT3 videos that are all over the internet with people having, you know, Porsche's press images and press videos and talking in front of them. It's not going to be that technical. Steve and I are not that technical, even though Steve prefers to be a bit more technical than me. I don't really give a damn that much. It's about the feeling with me. It's about how I feel about the car. It's about how it makes me feel. I got some interesting thoughts about it, Steve, and I'm wondering if yours are the same. So we'll get into that shortly. Patreon, I just want to do a thing about the Patreon because this is our little ad for the start of the podcast. I had no new members. We've had no new members for Patreon, PorscheCooled Exclusive on Patreon. I guess to keep us talking, it really does help if we get you guys support. Of course, the podcast is free, but if you want to support us, you can go over to Patreon, patreon.com/PorscheCooled and become a member for as little as $2 US up to $10 US. So a lot cheaper than other podcasts out there. I notice there's quite a few other podcasts on Patreon who are wanting a lot more money, but just to help us going. So that would be great if anyone else can help support the podcast there. PorscheCooled owner stories. Steve, you've probably been so busy you didn't get a chance to listen to Mark's story. Have a listen.
Had a chance.
You haven't? Okay.
Nope.
Have a listen to it. It's a really good story. Mark's a really nice guy. Mark's from the UK. He's had 3 Porsches. He started with a 70s Targa in a green, a very nice green. Not linden green. It was like not Viper green. It was a very nice green. It's on his Instagram, so you can check it out there. And I've just forgotten Mark. Sorry, Mark. I know you're listening, and I'm going to have to go to Instagram to tell everyone what your Instagram is because I've forgotten it, and I know it's Dempsey something. Yeah, so you go to Mark's Instagram. It's Dempsey, DEMPSEY 8617. Go and show your support. Go and follow Mark. Have a look at his cars. He's got most of them on there. Anyway, Steve, he owned a 70s Targa, first one. Then he bought a 87 911 Carrera in Cassis Red, G50 gearbox.
Oh, the Cassis Red guy. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So it's Cassis Red, and I have to say I like that color. I do like the color. I think, you know, like I said, it's not something I would spec today, but in that Carrera, in that 80s Carrera, I think it looks really good. What else? Oh, his wheels are also color matched. They came from the factory color match, so they got the color match wheels. Sorry, I did notice online. Yeah, I did notice online, Steve, that there was a picture. Someone had a picture of a 930 Turbo, and I sent it to Mark actually, and it was in green, and it had the same green color coded wheels. So it was obviously an option at the time for that Carrera.
Oh, it has been though, hasn't it? I think even like with 964s, 993s, I think you could always kind of do it. Very distinct look.
Yeah. I mean, I think it works. I mean, It works now anyway. It really does work now. I don't know if you'd spec a new 992 with a coloured wheel, so I know that's an option, but I'm not convinced on that one. I don't know. I'm not convinced.
I've seen the ones where there's almost like the halfway house. You know how the front face of the wheel is still silver or black or whatever, but then like some of the edging on the inside, sort of slight inside of the spoke or whatever, is coloured.
Yeah.
Not quite so kind of garish and full on.
Maybe that's better.
I still wouldn't do it, but yeah.
No, I think it looks good on Mark's 3.2 Carrera. I think it looks good on the Taycan. I like the coloured wheels on the Taycan. I like that Stormtrooper sort of look on the Taycan, however they do it. I think it works on that because it is quite futuristic. Anyway, so Mark owned the 70s Targa. He bought an 87 911. He's had it for quite a few years now. He's had it, resprayed and fixed up. And it's also, if you want to watch it, and I know people who have listened to the story already know this, but if you want to watch it, you go to Roger Bailey's YouTube channel. And Roger Bailey does some videos on 911s. And he's got a really good video of Mark's car on there, drone footage and everything. Okay. So Mark reached out to him and he wanted to use his car, and then he did a review of his car on the channel. So you can see his car there as well. And then during the stage of owning the 87 911 Carrera, Mark bought a 924 off an older couple, 70-year-old guy that had it for I think 30 years or 40 years.
Right.
But quite an interesting 924, and it's on his Instagram as well, Steve. It's just standard, steel wheels, black, no sunroof. Mm-hmm. And Mark said when he took it to car shows and stuff, it was actually quite rare. People were saying, wow, I haven't really seen a black 924. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, Mark's a really good guy. Like I said, go and follow him on his Instagram and listen to the story because it's a really good story. And it's just great to meet, all these owners. I've done a few owner stories recordings over the last week, Steve, over the last couple of weeks. And, common bond, but each story is just that little bit different. You know what I mean? And I think that's what people like about it. People like listening to it.
Yeah, cool.
So the Apple ratings and reviews, I just want to cover this really quickly. We had one review. I'm going to talk into the microphone today. I'm going all over the place because I can't see my screen. We had a Apple review from CKSW9 in Surrey, in Great Britain. We've got a lot of fans in Great Britain. Got a lot of fans in Great Britain, and we've got a lot of fans in US, and we've also got a lot of fans through Europe, not to mention Australia, but also the Nordic countries, European countries. So that's great.
What about Nepal? I thought we read no, that
Nepal.
Was Spike.
I don't know. I don't want to.
Another weird country that
I'm not going to go through the list of where we've been in the charts because for obvious reasons.
Don't do that.
But a great review on Apple Podcasts, Apple ratings and reviews, I should say. So if you go to Apple Podcasts, if you're on Apple Podcasts, it seems like most people listen to podcasts through Apple. I'm sure Windows users and Android users would hate to know that, but Apple Podcasts is the number one supplier. It's where most of the listeners come from, apart from Spotify, and then Stitcher is the next one. They're the top three. Right. But if you give us a review on that, Steve, when people give us a review on Apple, it pushes up in the search rating, it puts us in the charts, and, it helps us. We've got a lot of ratings now. I think we've got 70. It only shows up in the country you're in, and I've said this before. I think there's 70 ratings and reviews now on our podcast, which is, great support from everyone that listens to it. So I really appreciate that. So thank you for that. And it was a good review from CKSW9. So thank you for that review in the last couple of days that came through. Cool. All right, Steve. What's happened? Tell me what happened with your GT3. You told me you took it in for service. You picked it up today, right?
Yeah, just dropped it in this morning. I haven't been well. Woke up late, rushed across because I didn't want to get trapped in Sydney traffic, and I did. Dropped it off and kind of prayed like crazy that there wasn't anything major, and turned out that there wasn't. Last year was its major service. This year obviously was then the sort of minor. They did just the standard kind of fluids, oil, changed the brake fluids, and nothing kind of came up. I did kind of query some of, the little things on the end where they kind of go, these things are potential things to sort of happen. So I've got a couple more of those sort of popping up on my list.
Oh, really? What are they?
Which are slight cracks beginning to appear in the coolant reservoir, which doesn't sound great.
Coolant reservoir? That's just the plastic reservoir,
basically
is it?
The coolant tank. Yeah. yeah. Sort of.
Is that difficult to change?
I asked that question. We're talking, $1,100-$1,500 tops or something like that. But I think that was just completely off the top of their head.
How could that be so much, though, Steve? Sorry to go on, but how could that be $1,100 for? Is it hard to access? Is it?
Probably. I have no idea. You're asking the wrong person. The sway bar bushes are showing signs of wear, and I asked about. Remember, I'd said to you previously the gearbox mount was starting to kind of crack. So I asked about that again, and they sort of said, yeah, like it's very much like an engine mount, like a piece. I'm using my hands to people that can't see, and it's got a sort of rubber bit in the middle, just like an engine mount, and like the rubber bit's starting to crack, but it's completely serviceable at the moment. But
but what
sooner
impact?
Or later, it's going to need replacing.
What impact does that have? Does that give more vibration through the car? What is it? Did they tell you what it?
I suppose it'd be through the transmission. Didn't ask. Didn't look. They was fairly nonchalant, so I don't think at all it's sort of like a big kind of thing. The guys usually sort of obviously point that out when it is a big thing, or you get the phone call, about an hour after you've kind of dropped the car off, which so it's all fine.
Yeah, but it's kind of clever what they do, when they put those little extra things, because it gets it in your head. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And oh yeah, it's okay. Oh, but I want the car to be perfect. I think maybe I should just do those. Oh, it's only 3,000. Oh, I've got 3,000 this month. Yeah, I'll just do it.
We've talked about this sort of thing before, whereas I kind of go, yeah, no, I'm one of those I don't think I'm as full on as you, where you
drive it till you break it.
Praise on you more. I'm not quite that bad, but yeah. So, and then I don't think I ever told you, like ages ago, I had, maybe I did. I had my second steering wheel retrimmed in Alcantara. Told you that, didn't
I? Through Pro Stitch?
No, through my other mate Clarence, with that kind of batch of stuff.
But didn't it go disappeared for a while, didn't it?
Yeah, but it came back. So I'd never had it fitted.
Right.
Just took a while. I'd never had it fitted, so I just sort of dug it up and sort of thought, you know what, stuff it, just get them to fit it and see what it's like.
Oh, so they did?
Yep.
And how is it?
It's one of those things that I'm pretty sure that I could probably fit myself. Yeah. The only reason why I raised it was, again, because this is a audio podcast as opposed to a visual thing. It's thicker. When I had him retrim it, it's, sort of grey Alcantara, blah, 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 but it's got a little bit more girth to the actual rim. So
yeah, which Porsche offer as an option, right, in the wheels.
I think they did, but I don't know how thick. Yeah. I think the thick version is quite rare, because the one that I had on there yesterday is an RS wheel, but I'm pretty sure it's not, it's quite thin.
So what's the initial impression then? How does it feel? Do you like it?
I don't know. It's different. It's really weird. I know, people talk about M cars, BMW M cars. Like my 1M was like that, and most M3s have really chunky steering wheels, and it's so chunky to the point that you kind of hear some car journos sort of say that they really don't like it because it makes it, that they just don't like the feeling. I've read the opposite, where they talk about Porsche steering wheels are traditionally quite thin-rimmed, and it's deliberate, like it's part of the experience. So part of me was kind of going, oh, I shouldn't really mess with that, should I? Like if they kind of intended it to be, sort of relatively thin, like should I kind of keep it that way? But
yeah.
So I don't actually know. If I don't like it, then I'll just switch it back. I think it's something I can pretty much do myself if I want to.
Oh, well, at least you got the part. I'm still chasing my sunroofs around. I got a very bizarre email.
Didn't want to ask you, mate.
I got a very, very bizarre email a couple of days ago. I didn't actually, once again, it was another thing that I got during the week where I read it and I just don't understand it. I don't know whether this is a common thread that it's me going crazy, but it's like these things on Instagram. I just read it and I just don't understand it.
So would you prefer not to talk about it?
Well, I don't want to name it because I think he does a good job, and I don't want to shame him or anything, right? But apparently the person in Australia, apparently there's something to do with someone in Australia now. I don't know what is this. And apparently the person in Australia hasn't sent back all their parts. So that's why he hasn't done my part. Now,
What's it got to do with you?
I have no idea. I'm very confused because the last time I spoke to him, he was buying a part off eBay and he was getting it done, but he wanted to send it with the parts to someone in Australia. But now he's making out like the part of mine is coming from Australia. I don't know whether he's getting confused in the fact that he sent me Nick's part that went to Australia, then I had to pay to send back to Nick, and he told me that the guy in Australia wrecked it, and that, I don't know. The story just gets weirder and weirder. This has been the worst experience, I have to tell you. It's been the worst experience.
Just get John a postage, mate.
No, I'll leave it for a bit longer. I'm going to leave it a bit longer, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to buy it from Exclusive Option because it's easy. You just go online, you just buy it, you just, whatever.
Yeah, John will sort you out. He's good. John's really good.
Maybe I should do that. I don't know. I'm just over it. I'm so over it. So I'm still waiting for that. And then Nick in the UK, my mate in the UK, who's got the Carrera 4S, who was on the first owner stories, as you know. He sends me his got his chrono cover done in leather, like you did.
Yep.
And it looks really good. Yeah, but he did it like the guy in the UK did it like so quickly. Like it's only been, I swear, I don't know, I could be losing time here, but I swear it's only been like 10 days and it's done. What is so difficult about my sunroof surround? I don't understand. I think it's to do with money, that. I think it's to do with the fact that the first part was lost or something happened with it. And, I mean, remember the part was actually finished. My sunroof leather surround was actually finished. Yeah. He sent me an image of it and it looked fantastic. It's like, great, looks great, Lennox, thank you. It's the first thing he did, very first thing he made, finished. And then now it's just become this, I don't know, saga. It's become a saga. I want to talk about...
Actually...
Yeah, tell me.
Sorry, and I ordered your rear number plate bracket thingy thing with mine.
Okay, do you want to relive that for the people that haven't heard that story, or?
Not really, because it's pretty boring.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah, last week we were talking about the number plates. There was a guy in Australia, in Queensland, I think it is. He's in Queensland, right? Tasmania. Oh, okay. Tasmania. He's in Tasmania. So he does these brackets. He was quite well known. He had a very big business. He does the brackets and it makes a cleaner bracket for your number plate on Australian cars. So you have to have the number plate. You can't not have number plates. My one at the rear sits too high. Steve sits a bit low. Or Steve's, you can see the holes. So we're getting brackets done. Steve's getting the front and rear bracket. I'm just getting the rear bracket to make it cleaner. So what I'll do is when I eventually get back to Sydney, which is hopefully soon, I'll take a picture of I'll do a video. Maybe I'll do a whole video on it. Changing the number plate. I was watching TGE on YouTube last night. He did a whole video about tinting his windows. It's like, how did you make a 10-minute video just about getting your windows tinted? Driving there, driving back, and showing the windows tinted. It's amazing how people can just fill up fodder. You say we ramble and rant. At least we have some kind of point to our conversation. By the time you
throw in a couple of sponsor messages, then there's your 10 minutes.
I have to say the one thing I really dislike. I really like Smoking Tire, you know that. I do like his podcast. And I do kind of like him. I like how he's a bit more, to the point. I don't know about the dope smoking thing. I'm not so keen on that. But I do like how he's to the point. And I like Spike. But I really have to say, I really don't like how Matt Farah does his ads on Smoking Tire. I really don't like how... Like, I went for a run yesterday.
I don't think he does either.
I went for a run yesterday. I'm not kidding. From the place here we live in Bahrain, in Sanabis, I literally ran to pass the convention center, which is a good kilometers away, and it felt like a kilometer. And he's still reading the ads out. You know what I mean?
Don't you skip them?
I could, but then I was in a bit of a trance and I was thinking about all the other hassles in my life and I didn't skip them. And then I realized that he still hadn't even started the podcast. And it's like, why? These ads go for too long. Like, at least Spike doesn't.
That's how he's making his money.
But no, I'm not saying about not making the money. I understand you got to make the money, but put the ads through the podcast. Like what Spike does. He doesn't read.
I'll give you the alternate thing, being an advertising person. Because I reckon he's mentioned it too. Like, I've heard him sort of say the one thing that makes him feel really awkward is having to kind of do those, they're called live reads, when you sort of read out the ad and all that sort of stuff, because he sometimes kind of contributes to some of the writing in it. But more often than not, it's an idiot like me, or I'm an art director, not a copywriter, but somebody writes a script, gives it to him, makes out like he has to kind of endorse it. He feels really uncomfortable kind of doing the read, or whether it's YouTube or like on a podcast. So I reckon what he's deliberately doing is that he's smashing all of them out, and he knows that most viewers we'll probably kind of, skip straight to like about 5 minutes into the kind of beginning of the podcast. Like if I watch his YouTube thing, I'll look at the little preview and work out where his title frame is, and then that's where I'll start.
Okay.
So he knows that he's kind of having to do what he needs to do as a business and make his money.
Okay.
But I reckon that's the reason why he's not scattering them.
Well, I'm an advertiser.
That's what I would do.
I'm an advertiser, right? And for me,
Yep.
I would rather be on Spike's podcast as an advertiser than on Matt Farah's, because what you said then is probably what most people do. For some reason, the way Spike does it, I tend to listen to 10 seconds of the ad. It's the way he delivers it, the way that it's live. Matt Farah said yesterday
that
he's
funny and stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny. And Matt Farah said yesterday that he records all the ads and the intro at home. He doesn't do them in the studio.
Yeah.
So he just records them. I don't know. I think Spike's way of doing it for me is better. It seems to work. It seems to make you...
It's far less personal. Matt Farah is basically doing the absolute kind of bare minimum that you need to do because somebody is paying you money to run an ad. Whereas, I mean, maybe the difference between the two kind of things is that Spike probably doesn't need the money.
How much do you think they get paid for those ads?
I don't actually know. I'd be very curious.
Yeah, me too. I don't know where you get that data. I'd like to know if they're $1,000 an ad, $2,000 an ad.
You could probably find it because you'd find a rate card for them as influencers. And I'm actually kind of not joking, whereas I have a feeling that probably Zuckerman and Spike probably couldn't give two hoots if they actually didn't run ads. Like they're probably kind of just doing it to kind of recoup some costs, where Matt Farah is very commercially savvy and that is physically his business. So that's why he's doing it.
What did he say the other day? He said, I could do an Instagram live story, or I could do one of those things on Instagram, he said, I'm really conscious of doing things that don't generate me income. It's like, okay. It's like, I don't want to be famous. I just want the money. Just give me, his Jewish thing coming out. Yeah. And I thought, at least you're honest. At least you're honest,
Same with TGE. No, there's. I suggested to you we could talk about that hoo-ha with Mr. JWW and all that sort of shit, which we don't necessarily need to go through. But the thing I like about TGE is that he also is very transparent. But, all of these videos, all the content's there, but he's flogging stuff to us and he's not hiding anything. So
no, he has multiple businesses. I mean, I like him. I don't have a problem with him. I like him. I mean, I comment on his things. He responds every now and again to stuff. He responds to a message. I like him. He's all right. He's all right. I've seen him in the UK a couple of times, actually. He looks the same.
Yeah, right.
All right. Steve, before we get into our conversation, we'll get into the GT3 talk. I just want to say, and I know this is really weird because half the people listening probably don't even know what I'm talking about, but I joined the Clubhouse app, right? And I joined the Clubhouse app because I'm going to do a PorscheCooled thing on Clubhouse. And that was, thanks to Nick, who's got the 912 in the UK, the classic series, Nick. He's on it. He gave me his invite and I joined it. I haven't really spent a lot of time on it. I've been looking at things and listening to things. It's kind of like I don't know, I kind of like how it's audio only, Clubhouse. It's an audio only thing. It's like...
I don't actually know what it is.
Well, you can listen to conversations, interviews. Like the other day, Naomi Campbell, the model, was on a room, like everyone's in the room because she was in the room and you could talk to her. But it's like interesting people, I guess, various topics. It's like a live podcast, but it's like a live podcast that's a conference call. So it's like a live podcast with a lot of people in the room. So everyone can have the ability to talk if they want to talk. You schedule it, you have this podcast. Apparently it's the next big thing. I'm not convinced at the moment. I'm not convinced. And maybe I need to get into it deeper. And Nick told me that, you have to do 3 rooms and then you can set up a club. And to do a club, you could do the PorscheCooled Club, for example, right? And people can join. So when people come on to Clubhouse, they can join. Clubhouse at the moment is a bit exclusive. It's limited. It's only invite only. You can only get invites. Right. When you join up, when someone recommends you, like Nick recommended me, on my profile it says invited by Nick, but Nick at the Classic Series. So he invited me, so he's there. And everyone has that on their profile. So I invited Ajmal with my invite because I'm going to do something with Ajmal on there. We're going to do a room on there. Anyway, to get to the point, for some reason, and I don't understand why, Clubhouse gave me 3 invites last night. They actually gave me 3 invites. Now, these invites are really hard to come by. People are selling them. It's huge in China. It's a huge thing. I don't really understand it completely at the moment. But so I just want to do this one thing. I want to give away to the people listening to the podcast, Steve. Because these are my friends, I don't have any other friends except for you. I want to give away to whoever's listening today. If I have 3 invites, to give you that invite, I need your mobile number because it has to be sent to a mobile number. It works like on a phone number thing. It only works on iOS. It only works on iPhone. If you think you will use it and you think it's something that you'll be interested in doing, and like I said, when I eventually set up the club for PorscheCooled, you guys hopefully will join that as well. But I have 3 invites. I will give them away, so just send me a DM through PorscheCooled Instagram. I'll need your mobile number. So the first 3 people that send me that message, hopefully I can work out who the first 3 are, but the first 3 that send me the message, I will send you the invite and you can join Clubhouse. I didn't know what else to do with them. I mean, Natasha doesn't want it. I know you don't want it, Steve. I could have given it to Natasha's sister, but I thought, apparently they're really hard to come by. So I thought, Nick gave it to me and I thought that was good. Let's keep the car culture going. So I'll give it to 3 other people who listen to the podcast. Cool. That's all I wanted to say. What else? That's it. I'm done. Okay. GT3, Steve. Let's get into it. I know it's flooding the internet. It's all over the internet. I mean, even this morning I put in the search and there's just like even more and more articles and videos and, from well-known people and not so well-known people. So it's all over. It is pretty important. It is the 7th, if you've missed it, the 7th generation of the GT3 was launched yesterday. It was a live stream that Porsche did. I don't know what it is. I hate to say it, but those Porsche live streams, the girl that was presenting it's a little bit daggy. I think some of the humor's lost from German to English. It's a little bit daggy, but I watched it anyway. I watched it once it was finished. When I came back from my run, it was there on YouTube, so I just watched it. I know you haven't watched that one, Steve. And then directly after I watched the Harry Catchpole Carfection one. Henry Catchpole, sorry, Carfection one.
Yep.
So we all know the first generation of the GT3 came out in 1999, the 996. Now we're up to the 992. A lot has changed, Steve. What do you think? First impressions of it, actually. Before we get into like minor specs, we're not going to do this like a full technical one. It's more about how Steve and I feel about it. I mean, I have some strong feelings about it, good and bad.
I do.
What do you think?
I'm a bit undecided, to be perfectly honest. It's funny because just before we started recording too, my mate with the 997 GT3 just sort of texted me and said, "Oh, what do you reckon?" And it's like, I think I replied with, I certainly wouldn't be saying no. And I'm sure it's an amazing drive and stuff like that. But it's interesting how motorsporty it has kind of gotten. Like it's almost more like an RS than it is like a GT3.
Yes. But then I wonder if where does that leave them for the RS though? This is where I wanted to get into with you in this conversation. Where does that leave the RS?
I think everyone sort of says it every time they kind of release a GT3. I remember the last one where Catchpole interviewed Preuninger at, was it Goodwood? Yeah. They kind of released that one. And pretty much every single time, every journalist kind of goes, wow, it's so good. Like, how on earth are you going to kind of improve on this kind of thing? And then every generation they do.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they draw from the race cars like the RSR and all of that sort of stuff. But this one is just it's so motorsport, like, carbon bonnet, carbon roof option, the wheels, like all the kind of aero, like all of it it's almost like the bits that you traditionally would put in an RS, and they've kind of put it on the standard GT3.
Yeah, which makes me think, what are they going to do for the RS? I mean, let's just go through some of the main things. Let's not go through too technical. Let's just go through some of the main things. Sure. And these things I noted down from watching the live stream and from watching Carfection and reading another article this morning. So let's just talk about the weight of it, right? The thing about AP that he always does, the head of GT Motorsport, is he always likes to get the weight down. You know what I mean? And we all know the 992 is a heavier car than the 991. So he had a bit of a challenge, and it seems like in the live stream with the Porsche live stream, he made that. He said it was a very challenging project this time around to get it to that point. So like Steve just said, it's got a carbon fiber hood, which is really freaking cool, right? It's cool to have a carbon hood on your GT3. Don't you think?
Yeah, because you never would have in the past. I mean, I guess there are like more and more kind of cars that have carbon pieces. I wonder what that does to your insurance, because the cost of repair would be like that's as soon as you kind of get a little crack in it or whatever, then that's a replacement. So that part itself must be huge. So I wonder what your premiums are like on
your insurance, your maintenance could
GT3.
get more expensive. Yeah, I guess if you're buying one new, you don't really care. But you've got the carbon fiber hood, Steve, like you said. You've got the lightweight glass from the RS, so it's all lightweight glass.
Is this one lightweight glass as well?
Yep. That's how they reduce weight, lightweight glass.
That.
So I don't know. I mean, remember if you get window tint, I don't know if Porsche do it now. I think they were bringing it in. I don't know if they do it where you can get the lightweight glass tinted, but before, if you've got a tint on the glass, you don't get the lightweight glass anymore. So I'm not sure if that's the thing.
It's not plastic, it's the Gorilla Glass that they use in phones, I think.
It's the lightweight glass which they use on the RS, he said. I'm pretty sure he said that.
Yeah, the last one, because before that, like it was plastic, like you could press it and it was kind of perspex. I think this is actually, when they're saying glass, it's Gorilla Glass.
Okay.
They call it.
And then you can further reduce your weight by getting the roof in carbon. I'm not sure how much that reduced, so you can bring it down even more. The rear wing is also carbon. So back to your point about what happens if, damage happens. The rear wing is carbon.
Yep.
They've reduced, this is what AP was saying in the presentation. They put in lightweight carpet. All the carpet is lightweight, and they've lost 3 to 4 kilos in weight just from the carpet.
Yep.
This is not about weight, but he said the seats are more supportive. The best thing about the seats is they don't have that stripe on them anymore. So that's the best thing about the seats, is that those stripes are now gone. Hopefully that's not an option, but they didn't show it like that. It's kind of got a little bit of the blue color showing through in this. It was like a double layer microfiber, he called it. Double layer microfiber. That's how he explained it.
I was going to ask, because is it Alcantara or is it, so microfiber sounds like it's still, microfiber and ultra suede are exactly the same thing. They're just different kind of names. Is it Alcantara like suede, or is it actually like Sportec material?
I think it looks like, to me, like what was in the GT3 or GT2 RS, the green one, where you could see the green coming through the seat. It looks like similar material. You know how you see the little sort of, it's like perforated and you see it coming through the seats? I wanted to say an interesting thing, actually. I recorded an owner stories that's coming up. Actually, it's next week with Elliot, who's got a brand new 992. And do you know that you cannot spec Alcantara anymore on a 911?
Oh, really?
It's race tech.
Oh, they've just changed. So that just means that they've changed the...
but it's a different material.
Rather than sourcing it from Italy, because Alcantara is a brand name.
Yes, it's a brand name, but it feels different. Apparently, it's got a different feel to it. I don't know.
But is it still suede? Is it still synthetic suede?
Well, I guess so. They call it race tech. So I don't know how they explain it on the race techs, or race techs, is it? Maybe it's race techs.
I've had ultra suede trimmed and like a different, I think on the 1M and stuff like that, and it feels like Alcantara, so it's just a different name.
Yeah. All right. Possibly. So that's apparently what they're doing now. They don't have Alcantara anymore when you do an option for a car. Right. So maybe when he called it microfiber, he called it microfiber for the seats. Okay. Anyway. The battery is, and I didn't get this from their presentation, this was on Carfaction. The battery is a lithium iron phosphate battery. It's 10 kilograms less than the 991 battery in the 991 GT3. 10 kilograms less, Steve. So that makes a big difference. Obviously, I don't know about the wheels, though. I wasn't sure if the wheels were lighter or not. Do you like the design of the wheels?
Forged. Same thing. I really liked about my car, the 996, the 991, how the wheel design, which was really modern, but was still sort of clever enough to reference the Fuchs wheels, like the 5-pedal shape. And it's a bit of a pity that it's gone, because this wheel now is like, again, full RS sort of style. Like that pretty much is a BBS sort of, mesh multi-spoke type racing wheel, which they've kind of had for ages, which I really like, but it's just a bit of a shame that the kind of Fuchs style thing the Fuchs reference is gone.
Yeah, I like it. I don't mind the new wheel. I think I'd have to see it closer up, but it looks like it's okay.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I'm definitely not hating it.
So the manual, I don't want to go through the specs too much, but the manual was apparently 1,418 kilograms. I don't know what that is in pounds. The PDK was 1,434 kilograms. And basically, AP said it's close to the outgoing GT3. It's a few kilograms heavier. So basically, he's got the weight down to almost the same as the outgoing 991, even though the 992 is a much heavier car and a bigger car. Remember that, it is a bigger car.
Yep.
The one important thing I thought was interesting, which Carfection had, is that the Club Sport package, of course, adds weight. And if you opt to have the Club Sport package because of the roll cage, now it surprises me that they're not doing a titanium roll cage as they do in the RSs, right?
They'll save it. They'll save it for
saving
the RS.
it. Yeah, so it adds 15 kilos, the Club Sport package, because of the roll cage.
Yep.
That's a lot. 15 kilos is a lot. So I don't know. Maybe you...
Not really.
Really? But maybe... Do you think, though... Here's a question for you, because I was thinking about this. You know, if you're hung up on weight, right? You want to get your new GT3 as light as possible. Do you opt then... Okay, I'll opt and I'll get my roof in carbon because I want to get the Club Sport package and that'll balance it out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's sort of funny. Like we've spoken about it before, and I've spoken to friends who were into motorbikes. You know, about kind of carbon bits on motorbikes. You spend like thousands kind of trimming carbon out of it, but like, I mean, really, that's sort of sometimes the difference between having breakfast and not, or
True,
you know,
true.
having a passenger or not, kind of thing. So
yeah, I put on five. Lose weight.
Go,
lose weight is the best way to lose weight in your car, right? That's what. That's right.
So 15 kilos, you know, like if you wanted to kind of strip 15 kilos out of
lose
the car,
your gut.
You have to work really hard.
Lose your gut.
Exactly. Drive your car naked.
Yeah, exactly. Don't wear denim. Denim weighs a kilogram. Wear lightweight, technical fabric pants.
So it's funny because I think we as punters can kind of get hung up on weight things because you get all boffiny about it. But when you literally kind of think about it, are you going to feel 15 kilos different even if you're driving kind of relatively hard down the old pack highway on a Sunday? Nah.
It's all about boasting. It's all about saying you've got you've done this and you've lost this. But what about I want to talk about the transmission because Porsche's done what we knew they would do: 6-speed manual, which would be my choice, and a 7-speed PDK. Now the PDK is interesting, and this was the thing that we saw in the original spy shots when I said to you, Steve, how come the PDK has a gear shift? It doesn't look like the 992. Remember I said that to you? It's because the PDK is a 7-speed PDK, which is not the 8-speed in the 992 generation. It's a different PDK. So that's why the PDK model in the GT3 has a proper shifter. It looks like a manual when you first look at it. You know, it's not that unique PDK gear selector that's in the manual. It's in the
Braun shaver thing.
Yeah, the Braun shaver thing that's in the 992 because it looks like a gear stick. So it looks when you look into
that. He mentioned that in the pre-tease thing with Chris Harris, where he sort of said that AP himself still kind of likes to nudge a kind of gear knob like a sequential shifter in a race car, whereas Frank Walliser likes to use paddles kind of thing. So, I don't know.
So that's a bit of a change anyway. So it looks different to the 992 because it does have that shifter. I don't know, downforce. I mean, we all know about the downforce side of it, Steve. I mean, the dual bonnet vents on the front.
I don't really like the look of them, I got to say. I said that previously, and I don't think
them.
It looks a little bit. I don't know, because the whole thing's kind of gotten motorsporty. It does it's definitely more aggressive, but it's not as sort of stylish or sophisticated as a design. Maybe the touring will be less overt, but
yeah. I mean, the bonnet vents. What else has it got? The front splitter, the deeper side skirts, the really full-on rear diffuser, which is sort of following on from the GT4, isn't it? I mean, the GT4's got a big diffuser now at the back. A pair of exhaust tips. I thought from listening to the Porsche presentation that the front splitter and rear wing can both be adjusted. I got the impression from the presentation that the front one was adjusted automatically, but apparently it's not. Apparently I read something this morning and it says it only can be adjusted manually.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like the ALS system in the Lamborghini Hurricane Performante, where it's like automatic. That system is automatic, that ALS system.
Yeah, I wondered whether or not they'd save that for the RS as well, when you kind of look at the rear wing and all of that type of thing, where, like the air can flow through the wing and all of that type of thing. But
so now you've seen the wing and you've seen the final production model. Do you like the swan neck wing?
I don't know. I don't hate it. Like I certainly would not be complaining if I had one. Like if I had the cash and all of that sort of stuff, like it's cool. It's really cool. But I'd love to see what the touring looks like. Because maybe if I had the money, maybe I'd actually kind of be going for the touring option.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting how they make it because, like you said, the GT3 now is aggressive. This is not the RS we're looking at. This is the GT3. It's more, it's got a lot of things from the racetrack. It's got a lot of things from the race car. How are they going to get? What are they going to do to make the touring be a touring? You know what I mean? How are they going to clean it up? How are they going to keep getting that right amount of downforce as well with this car? It's going to be interesting to see what. And I think he said it's going to be late in the year.
They'll sacrifice that, won't they?
Late in the year, though. Late in the year.
Yeah, don't know. It's look, you wouldn't kick it out of bed, put it that way, but it just has lost some of the prettiness to it. And there's nothing to sort of say that they have to kind of be pretty, but I'll explain it. You think about like the previous gen GT2 RS, like with the kind of carbon bonnet and the sort of colored bit down the middle, and just the overall aesthetic of that thing kind of got to the point where it sort of looks a little bit more like a tuner car. If you know what I mean? Sort of like
sort of.
There's so much stuff going on it with the wings and the vents, and then sort of like some exposed carbon and some decals and some Larry color and match it with gold wheels. So it's kind of become less and less subtle. Whereas if you think about like a sort of as a 911R, or by comparison, there's sort of two ends of a bit of a spectrum in terms of how flashy the thing is. It seems like the GT3 is now getting flashier is sort of what I'm trying to say. And I'm not, it kind of would be nice if it wasn't as full on as that.
I agree with you. And that's the thing that I was challenged by when I was looking at it, because I really like it. I do like it. All right. I don't hate it. I look at it and I've watched a few videos. I've looked at the images and I like it. And I think the rear wing, even though it's larger, Steve, it somehow feels more contained. Like when you look at the rear of the 992 and you look at the rear of the 991, I actually think the way they've integrated the wing, even though it is a bigger wing and it's a swan neck, I think it looks more integrated into the rear of the car. You know what I mean? It doesn't look as plonked on. The 991, if you look at it in some ways, it looks like it's just plonked on. It looks like it's designed around the car. It's part of the car. So I think that's I think they've done that really, really well. I really do think they've done that well. I agree with you in that I think that it's lost something of that pure simplicity that it's always had. It's always about this is how it looks. It doesn't look that fast, but it's what's under the surface. And now it's starting to look, like you said, it's looking like a race car. And it's like, well, this is what's under the surface and this is what it is. It's super fast. Look at my wing. Look at this. It looks too racy almost in some ways. And that's what worries me. And I kind of think, I'm wondering, and I wanted to keep this to the end of the conversation, but maybe we can put it in here, Steve. Mm-hmm. I have a funny feeling that, that I don't think the 991.2 values of a GT3 are going to go down that much. And I think the 997 GT3 is going to go up more, because I think there's a lot of people like us, even though we would love to have that point,
we can't afford it.
We'd love to have it. We can't afford it. But then it's also that challenge in your mind where, I want it, but oh man, I really like that. I really like the simplicity of the 997, even the 996, 0.2, the 997, let's just say 997 and 991. I like how it's understated in a way. It is a bit more understated.
It is a bit more, you're right. And I think it's also kind of like when you think of German sort of performance cars, like think of the latest M3, the way that looks, or the AMG Black Series, GTR on that GT range. Like when AMG sort of do sort of like the full on their kind of motorsport car, whenever Audi, BMW, AMG kind of do that sort of German motorsport thing, it's all got like that sort of common look, and this feels like that. It doesn't feel, so it's all kind of going down this route that makes it look really kind of race car-ish.
Is that the problem though? Is it the problem that the GTR Pro, like you said, looks like a race car? It looks like the race car.
No, it's not. It's definitely not a problem because they are race cars. So like, it's not like they're making it up kind of thing. They've got the kind of heritage and everything to back it up, particularly Porsche. It's just.
But that was the RS. But that's the RS though. You know what I mean? like you said, the GT3 is now, it's blurring the lines between the RS thing. You know, what's going to happen to the RS now? You know what I mean? How far is that going to go? Is it going to look like a Senna? You know, is it going to be like that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Look, they're smart cookies. I bet you it's all deliberate. I bet you any money that they'll release the touring and we'll kind of go, see, like the touring is for us, and then, you know, like maybe younger guys or, you know, people who can afford like McLarens and stuff like that sort of opt for the sort of GT3 kind of thing, because it is a bit of a look.
Yeah.
So
I think the hard thing here's a hard question for you. You know, you've got the cash. You just came into some cash. You just sold all your crypto, or you sold your, you know, mansion in Beverly Hills or wherever you live.
Okay.
Would you order the GT3 now if you could get allocation, or would you wait for the touring?
I'd probably wait for the touring, I think. But I bet you wouldn't. Did they ever sort of say anything in any of these press releases? Like, surely the car's sold out for, you know,
I don't know,
the next year and a bit or something.
I couldn't. I was trying to find I want to still go through a few more of these specs, but I was trying to find the price, and I couldn't find the price for Australia. It said it's not released yet, and I couldn't find a price for the US. Maybe it's there, but I couldn't find it when I was quickly searching before we started. The only price I could find was the one that Carfection, where he said was £123,000 base price.
Yeah, 123,100.
Yeah, but I think the old one, wasn't the old one a lot cheaper than that? See, I didn't get the old price. I should have got the old price to compare it. But there is a lot more technology. There is obviously a lot more technology.
I can't remember, but I think I listened to a podcast that sort of said that between the very first, you know, the 996 to now, it's kind of gone up. Was it £12,000? It was sort of like more than 10% of the value of the car, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But then I think the guys that were sort of commenting on it sort of actually also in the same breath sort of said, yeah, but look, if they wanted to charge like £150,000 for this, they could probably kind of get away with it, and it'd still sell out.
Well, they're going to sell it, aren't they? They're going to be selling for over sticker. People are going to be trying to make money on them. You know, I saw an Instagram post today, the guy that does the colors of the GT3s, and he had all different colors in the car. Oh, yeah. It looks pretty good, you know. It's like every 911, it always looks a little bit different. You know, I saw someone that posted a Golf Orange one today. I don't know whether Golf Orange is an available color, or because they're saying they're going to do the PTS from the beginning. They're going to sort out the PTS issue this time and have a proper PTS program almost straight away. We'll see how that works. I mean, so, you know, anyway, the car itself, you know, we know all this aero, it's for downforce. You know, it's got apparently 50% more downforce. You know, the wing is like the one from the race car. What else, Steve? And then you got all the technical side of it. Now, the big thing that everyone's been going on about, and I'm not mechanical and I don't really understand this, but I kind of see what they were saying, is about the road model. The GT3 is the first road model with double wishbone front suspension, rather than the previous GT3 that had McPherson struts, and it said it's derived from the outgoing 911 RSR race car. And that's what he made the point in the presentation, AP, about it's from the race car. It's you know, it's pretty amazing that they put this into the production model. The wheels, I don't know what size wheels are on your car, but the wheels are 20-inch front, 21 rear, forged wheels.
Like these little 19s.
Are they?
I'm looking at the pictures of this thing, and you look at the size of the brake discs. I bet you the brake discs
got bigger.
Probably the size of my wheels.
Yeah,
I think they're like 400 at the front, which is crazy.
Yeah. Here you go, mate. It's 1.6 kilograms lighter, the units. The alloy wheels are 1.6 kilograms lighter than the units fitted to its predecessor. Wrapped in 10 millimeter wider Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R tires.
Yep.
Carbon or steel or carbon brakes, depending on what you opt. And then, this is the other one to say, which I thought was interesting. An optional sports exhaust system saves another 10 kilos over the standard setup and features adjustable flaps to enhance engine sound on the way to the 4-litre 9,000 red line. 9,000 red
okay.
red
I wonder
line.
what that is.
So that'll be interesting to know what the exhaust
option is.
Yeah. So it features adjustable flaps to enhance engine sound. Be interesting.
I would, because the previous ones all had valved exhaust, so I wonder what the difference is.
Yeah. So like we just said, the engine goes up to 9,000 RPM. I think it's 500 odd horsepower, right? I didn't write it down. I think I'm going by memory.
503 or something like that.
503 horsepower. I mean, the engine on those videos, the one where they're doing the Nordschleife and then they're doing the record lap, the engine sounds amazing.
It does sound good.
Someone said the engine is the same engine from, I think it was AP. The engine is basically the engine from the Speedster in the 991 generation.
Yep.
Did you read that?
Yeah, because they had to kind of they modified it slightly as they kind of kept going, and it's the Speedster was the first with the particulate filters in it as well.
Oh, okay.
And actually, and the what is it? Independent throttle bodies.
Oh, that's right.
Cylinder.
Yeah, that's right. Which were he was really excited about that AP.
Yeah.
What I do
would be too if I understood it exactly.
I do like the button on the wheel, the dial. So for the GT3, if you've watched it, it's got normal, it's got sport, and it's got track modes. Then you get that track view, Steve, on the display. You get the special track view, which is really cool because it has the illuminated bars on the left and the right of the rev counter and a shift light.
The change-up lights.
Yeah,
the
shift light derived from the motorsport cards. That time on the Nordschleife was 6.59. It was 17 and a half seconds quicker than the previous GT3. 17 and a half seconds.
How much of that is down to the tyre?
That's what I'm going to say.
The old car ran Cup 2s and this is Cup 2Rs.
That's what I was going to get to. Your point is that the tyres. How many seconds are you getting out of the tyres?
Probably not the full 17, but who knows?
Okay, but this is the interesting one, and I think it had the same tyres. This is the point they made when they were talking about the GT3 RS, the previous generation GT3 RS 991.2. They said it was 1.2 seconds quicker than the previous generation GT3 RS on the same tyres.
Yep.
So that's pretty amazing. So what is the GT3 RS going to be then? How fast is that going to be?
Yeah. It's just technology, and they're like, German engineers kind of getting together, spending 3 years or more kind of honing something. It's just like this kind of ongoing sort of thing where they're just kind of polishing and honing something to the nth degree. And we're all going, oh, they can't make it any better, but they do. And I mean, I guess a lot of it does come from the track because they actually are running like a car better than this one, like an RSR in this kind of next year, and they kind of take all the learnings from that. So they kind of passed on the double wishbone front suspension, all the kind of aerodynamic learnings, all the kind of, engine stuff, and it just kind of gets passed down. So sort of, I guess that's what's really cool about it, because it is like motorsport does improve the breed kind of thing. And it does justify, therefore, why this car is so, motorsport in its aesthetic. Like, at least it's not sort of like just kind of dress ups where,
true.
It can't really live up to like, all those kind of cues and features. But so yeah, it's a pretty kind of mean looking thing.
It is. I mean, I do like how it looks. But did you like the color, the launch color, shark blue, whatever it was called?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of getting sick of. It's hard because, like, from a marketing perspective, they've kind of teased us for so long, and we've already kind of seen like quite a few pictures and stuff like that. So I'm not sort of saying that yet. This morning's kind of launch was sort of flat or anything like that, but I just kind of go, oh yeah, like it's kind of become familiar now.
Yeah, true. It looks a bit like Riviera blue, but then in certain lights it looks completely different.
Mexico.
Yeah, it looks like Mexico Riviera blue, doesn't it? It's one of those shark blue. I don't know if I like the name, but
How bad are these photos though? Like, some of them look like they're shot on an iPhone.
Yeah, some of them are. Yeah, but I don't know, Steve. I mean, let's just go back. Let's just go back to the feeling though. So you've got your 996 generation GT3, you've got your 997 that you own, and you got the 991, and now we're into the 992. What do you think it does to the other generations now? What do you think? How do you think people are going to see it when they're you're sitting on the fence, at the moment, thinking you want a 991 GT3 or a 997. You think people are going to say, well, I'll wait for a few years till I can get the 992? Or do you think people go, well, hey, I like the analog, I like the simplicity, the less tech of the 997, 996, 991?
I don't really kind of think so, because I don't think you're really going to be kind of cross-shopping all of that sort of stuff. Like, I think the kind of truth of it is that there's probably people that are going to 992 GT3s that probably coming out of Lambos and Ferraris and, you know, all of that sort of stuff, if you can kind of get on the list, or you pay over kind of RRP. Then there's the kind of massive hordes of enthusiasts that probably have had kind of previous GT cars and stuff like that as well. So,
yeah, I think I think it feels that way, doesn't it? It feels that Porsche has decided they want new customers to the brand. Yeah. They want to get those Lambo guys who don't look at the GT3. They want to get some of those even, you know, Merc guys or Ferrari guys. They want to get them into the GT3. You know what I mean? They want to tempt them with that, and maybe the GT3 RS is once again is going to be more comparable to the Senna, to those sort of buyers. You know what I mean? Because the price is going to be so high. So is it about Porsche sort of thinking, well, we've got our regular customers. They're our regulars. They love us. They're going to buy our car regardless. They're going to order a GT3. The guys who order it, they're going to order it. But what about those other guys we haven't got yet? There's still a lot of them. You know? And I feel like that's
where you kind of need to compare in terms of the tech and the look and all of that sort of stuff. Like, you do need to kind of slightly kind of compete with, you know, there's sort of other people out there. But yeah, like, to answer your question, what's it going to do for like the previous generations? It's only just going to grow. It's just going to grow the kind of appreciation and the myth that, you know, this mythological kind of car that, because this car will obviously kind of perform like crazy, and all the other kind of cars still kind of bask in the halo of like all the other cars in the range. And then, which is, I suppose, really just kind of a good thing. But I don't think really it's sort of, I don't think you ever really kind of compare, or if you're really uber wealthy, and when you kind of get on Renlist, you know, there are some people, you know, that have like multiple generations of GT3s, and ideally, you know, I'm sure you'd like to be one of those, and I'd love to kind of be one of those too. Maybe kind of what would be interesting about it is that, would I necessarily, if I had all the money in the world, own a 996 and a 997 GT3? Probably not. They're probably too close. But the further this kind of goes, because it's spanning 21 years, like, there probably would be a big enough difference between a 997, say, and a 991 or a 992, that, you know, like, if you've kind of got the money, then I'd like to kind of have a couple of these things, because there's enough difference in them to kind of, you know.
I mean, the combination that comes into my head is the 997 GT3 RS and the new 992 GT3. I think that would be kind of a nice combination. Do you know what I mean? The 992 GT3 is probably faster, a lot faster, but I think that would be a good combination.
By far.
But do you think, let's just cast your mind back, and I can't really remember, but when the 991 GT3 came out, do you think it was as exciting as this 992 compared to the previous 991? Like, was the 991, was it as a bigger impact replacing the 997?
Yeah, I think it was. It was a pretty big thing, because they'd just kind of gotten to this point where they were so kind of revered. I mean, the biggest problem with that was because they sort of, like, everything was overshadowed by the fact that there was no manual. So, you know, everything was sort of spoken about PDK, and Preuninger spent, you know, like the whole kind of press launch justifying why PDK was kind of quicker and supposedly better, only to later reveal that, you know, they didn't have the budget to kind of develop both gearboxes, so they just were saving it for later, basically. So yeah, like, you know, it's obviously like a big deal. I think maybe also I sort of struggle with it because of COVID. I've actually not seen many 992s, so I'm not that kind of. I haven't kind of become that accustomed to it yet, and every time I look at the pictures of it, I'm still really unsure of the arse end of it.
I saw another one here in Bahrain the other day when I was running. One went by in silver.
Yeah,
I like it. I mean, then again, you know, a lot of cars look good on the road here. A 720S McLaren went past me yesterday or the day before as well. You know, that looked fantastic as well. You know, but then even Cayman S's, you know, 981 Cayman S's, which are great looking cars, they seem to look really good here. Everything looks good. I mean, maybe it's just I'm missing Porsche. Everything looks good. But I'm like you with the 991. I was not sure. But now I've seen quite a few. The 992, I should say. 992, I should say, yeah. I've seen quite a few. And I like it. I actually do like it. I do like it.
I saw a red one when I went to pick up my car today on the road. And it looks good. Like, it looks really... It's
big.
looking more and more supercar. Yeah, it looks big and sort of wide. The stance is like even more squat.
Yeah.
And it's sort of flatter in its aesthetic. So it's starting to look more, like when you think of like the basic kind of silhouette of, even though they're mid-engine, like a Ferrari or a Lambo or whatever, like they're kind of wide and really flat. And this is kind of, it's taking on those sorts of proportions.
Yeah, and the rear of the 992, because of that line, makes it even look more squat, makes it look flatter.
Exactly.
And that's what I think they've done well. And when you see it on the road, you realize, you go, that's why they've done that. It makes, everything makes sense with Porsche. You first look at it and go, what have they done? And then you look at it again and you go, okay, I understand. And I think that's what's great about Porsche. But...
You go back to the heritage of the car itself. Like when you think about like 60s, 70s kind of 911s, they're very pretty cars. Like you would kind of describe them as being maybe more feminine.
Feminine,
in terms of
are.
Like if you had to kind of choose a gender for the car, like would you sort of say that it's a female looking car? It's like, they're really delicate and pretty and sort of quite graceful and everything. And would you say the same of like a 992? Like definitely not.
Nope.
It's kind of spun the other way.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, look, I don't know. GT3, it's pretty cool. You saw they brought a watch.
Super cool.
They brought that watch out to go along with it. Usually when I saw the image at first, I thought, I usually, take the piss, so to speak, in Australian slang. I usually take the piss with these watches that go with cars. It doesn't have to be Porsche. It can be whatever car company is doing it. I don't think this chronograph that they've brought out, the Porsche design chronograph, is terrible, right? Now, I'm not an expert.
How much is it? How much extra is it?
The thing is, you can only order it if you buy the GT3. You can't buy it separately. Yep. So they've kept it as a limited thing for owners. So I think in that respect, it's kind of cool, depending on how much it costs.
A bit more cred doing that.
You've got a bit more cred. And I do like the thing they've done. I think it's quite clever that the ring around the dial on the bezel, the color will match the color of your car.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I know
that branded stuff. That's all.
Yeah, I know. I would normally say, it's a bit tacky. It's a bit yuck, But I think as a watcher, I looked at the watch again just before we come online, Steve, and I don't think it's awful. I don't think it's awful. But, for me, I'd rather get that original Porsche design watch, which I'm looking for. I keep looking at them thinking,
I was looking for one of those.
Did you have
years
one?
ago, the black one.
Did you have one?
I tried to buy one ages ago, but they were so hard to find. This is like dating back like 8-10 years. I was trying to find them, but I couldn't. And then they reissued it. They reissued it.
They're on Chrono 24.
5 years ago?
There's old ones on Chrono 24, but they're expensive. They come up.
But you saw the reissue that I'm talking about? Because I saw it in Hong Kong when I was there quite a few years back, and I looked at it and it's like, it looks really cool, but it's not worth the money given like the movement that inside it and all of that type of thing. So
no, they're not. But I think I would pay the money for the original one. Even though, like
the original
you said,
one,
it's not worth the movement is just basic movement. But a lot of watches have basic movement. So, but I know. I think Porsche. I think what they've done by saying you can only buy it if you order the GT3. I think that's okay. I think that's quite cool. Anything else, mate?
Would you do it?
Huh?
Would you do it?
I would actually. I said to Tasha, I said, if I had the money, I would, and they wouldn't take my order. They wouldn't take my order. I said, I would buy one. I would buy one. It's difficult for me though, because like I said, would I wait for the Touring? I'd like to see the Touring before I ordered it. I'd like to see how it looks. I'd like to know how it looks because I really like the 991 Touring. I really do like it, especially when it's in a nice color, like a more special color, PTS color. Like I said, I keep referring to, the Ingham guy, Porsche Malone on Instagram. He's got the blue one, which I think is an arrow blue, which I really like, that arrow blue. And I think when it's in a special color, the Touring, I think it looks pretty cool. But then again, if I had the choice between a 991.2 Touring or a 911R, I'd rather have the R.
Okay. So what color would you spec your 992 GT3 in?
GT Silver.
Nice.
No, I actually like that. I like the Golf orange color. I think, you know what? I think I would spec it. I would spec it in, I'm not kidding. It's going to be really boring. GT Silver and one of the Golf, like either Golf Blue, if they had Golf Blue, or Golf Orange even, maybe. You know, like keep to that sort of, that color spectrum. What's the other color? Mm-hmm. What's the other Golf color? There's 3 or 4? 3.
Is there?
I don't know. That's what I would pick. What color would you pick? What would you go for? Let's talk about colors and then we'll end it for today.
Oh, geez, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it.
I haven't seen the configurator though, so I don't know what colors are available. So that could change things.
I saw that same PTRS post that you're talking about. I saw that you liked it. What color? I don't know. I'm always still kind of partial to probably something like a signal yellow. I don't know. Something kind of cool about.
You'd never sell it though.
Bright yellows.
Yellow.
Bahrain yellow. Don't, mate. I'd be so wealthy, like it wouldn't matter. I'd just be kind of putting cash in garbage bins and setting it on fire. Just because I could.
See, I think it's going to be over 400,000 in Australia once you put on a few options. It's going to hit 400K this one for sure. I don't know what the list price will be, but I'm guessing it's going to be what, 350, 360 somewhere in Australia. I think it'd have to be.
Yeah, and it sounds like you can't not get like option the sports exhaust and
how
many
have
cars.
To buy that.
Probably everyone's going to go and get the carbon roof and all of that type of thing as well, and they'll run out of.
Yeah, they're going to be selling for
They're
going to be selling for 500,000, mate. They're going to be online. People are going to buy one and then resell it straight away, and it's going to be 550 or 600,000.
Are the lightweight buckets an option, or is it standard?
Doesn't say. I mean, the car had them, the launch car, but it didn't actually say. Oh, no, it comes with another seat. No, it comes with another seat. I saw the picture. Heavily bolstered to sport seat. It comes with another seat. I did see it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that picture too. You're right.
Yeah.
Because remember, like, I think...
So it's an option then. It's an option.
Because when the 991.1 first came out, they ran out of buckets sort of thing. So, like, a lot of those cars, people that wanted them missed out. So they basically kind of had to take them without it. And they obviously kind of got duped because... supposedly everybody wants them now, and their car's not worth as much if you don't have the lightweight buckets.
But they've been tweaked, he said. They've been slightly changed compared to the
previous. They look pretty similar, don't they?
Previous generation. I don't know what they've changed, but he said they're more support. I think he said they got more support.
Okay. Just visually, they look. I sort of thought, like pretty much every new generation, they've kind of introduced a new seat, but didn't look like it in this one.
But, mate, they've done what they always do. Porsche always do this. They always make us want it. They always make us want it, and they always know that we can't get it. But we want it, but we can't get it. So, it makes me just feel even more depressed about, what's going on when I know that. But, it puts GT3 back in your mind. It puts, the fact that, I definitely want a GT3. I haven't lost that passion for one. So
hurry up, mate.
Yeah. I need
just
money.
Get one.
I need money.
997, 991, they'd all be brilliant. Like a 991.2 would be an amazing car.
Get the 0.1, the cheap one, where the engine's going to blow up in a couple of years.
You could do that. Well, yeah.
So
while I'm standing by the side... Yeah, you may as well do that while I'm standing by the side of the road, kind of filling bins up with money and then just setting it on fire. You may as well just go
you've got so much money.
Buy 991.1.
You're about to buy a mansion, so you've got heaps of money.
Yeah.
By the way, before we leave, I want to say I saw a really distressing, apart from all my notifications coming through that my investments are all diving, I saw a really distressing...
setting money on fire.
Yeah, no. That's what... You know what? I'm not going to get into it, but you know what I'm talking about. That's what I feel like I'm doing at the moment because I've just lost crazy amount of money. That distressing picture in Sydney, the 356 convertible. It wasn't a speedster, it was a convertible on fire on the side of the highway, and the guy's just standing there in his shorts just watching his car burn. Fully restored pale blue 356 convertible. I'm sure some of the guys in Australia who are watching this saw that footage. Oh my God, I think it might have been in Melbourne or it could have been Sydney, I don't know. Tasha showed it to me. It's just distressing. I don't know how I'd feel just standing there. I know you got insurance, but it's like you're just standing there, your car's just burning.
No, not the same. Not in a 356.
It's burning. Oh, before we go, talking about GT3.
Get a fire extinguisher. Let that be a lesson to you.
Yeah, obviously he had one. It obviously didn't work. Have you bought yours?
Get a functioning fire. No. I noticed on Pelican parts they were kind of 15% off, and if you buy like 2 or 3, then you kind of get multiple discounts.
But you can't ship them.
You can't. Yeah, so you've got to buy it locally in Australia.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to do I want to do a shout out. I'm sure he doesn't mind because he's on Instagram. But James at Porsche that's been on the owner stories before, who had the Cup car. The Fitzgerald racing car, which he put back to like as it was with the right decals, looks amazing. He took it on the track. It's on Outlaw Garage, guys. YouTube channel, the video of it. You should watch it. I reposted it on my PorscheCooled Instagram because it's for sale. He's selling it. So there you go, Steve. If you want a track day car, I was just going to say, you want a track day car, contact James, and there is your ideal. Can you imagine having that as your track day car? You'd have fun in that.
I suspect I'd have to learn to drive properly first. So maybe not.
All right. And then before we go as well, I keep saying before we go, I keep putting these things in. But next week's Owner's Stories on Tuesday is Elliot, and it's about a 992 Carrera S that he's bought. First 911, 992 Carrera S. It's a really good story. We're talking about 992s today. So if you want to get a bit of insight to someone who's actually owned one, he's only owned it for a short while. I think it must be 4 weeks now because when I spoke to him it was 2 weeks, and I think I recorded it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But it's a new car. It's GT Silver, my favorite color, and it's spec'd really, really well. It's a manual too. That's about it, Steve.
Come on.
Thanks for today. That was good. It's a good chat.
No worries. All good.
So let's just tell the listeners. Let's just tell the listeners. Yeah, you have a good week as well. Let's tell the listeners. So Steve won't be here over the next few weeks, while he celebrates the birth of his second child, which is very exciting. So all the best wishes to Steve that the next couple of weeks all go well. Thanks, mate.
Bit scared, but it'll be good.
Yeah, someone sent me a message actually. I don't know if I told you. It was Greg from First Flat 6 who's been on the Owner Stories about we was talking about in one of the episodes how he said, does it get any better when the second one, does it get any easier? He said, tell Steve it doesn't.
Yeah, thanks, Craig.
And also Ajmal did a new video the other day, Flat Cap Driver. It's up on YouTube, and you get a mention in it at the end, Steve, about about how you don't respond.
Cool.
So
famous for not responding. That's exactly what I was hoping for.
Yeah, Ajmal's very, very upset. He's very upset that you've just snubbed him.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Cheers, mate.
All right, cheers. All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening to the PorscheCooled Podcast, and bye for now.